I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Last Wednesday, the House Homeland Security Committee held a hearing on election security. Congressman Ritchie Torres concluded the hearing by asking each witness about the most important steps that Congress can take to combat threats to election officials and infrastructure. Let's listen in to their responses.
Thank you. We are at the end of our hearing, but before I conclude, I do want to ask each witness, what's the most important action that we in Congress can take to fundamentally enhance election security? And I'll start with Secretary Oliver.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for having me here today. I think it's been a very important discussion, and I think that although we may share differing political views, I think there have been a lot of consistent threads throughout this conversation, and hopefully that gives you all and the American public increased confidence in our election process. Mr. Chairman, continue to support us as election officials in our states. I think many commenters today have noted the importance of allowing states and indeed the constitutional requirement to allow states to conduct elections. We do so many things in common to ensure the integrity of our elections, but continue to support us in our efforts, and particularly with, it doesn't have to be a lot, but ongoing funding so that we can protect our critical election infrastructure, which is a part of our national security infrastructure. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kelly, what's the most important thing we can do in Congress?
Mr. Chairman, I echo Secretary Oliver's comments, and thank you very much for today's hearing. Two quick things. I believe funding is very important. Improving physical security at election offices will go a long way, and that assistance is badly needed. And then raising awareness on this issue. It is very important that not only the American public become aware of this, but also local law enforcement leaders and election officials across the country.
Ms. Howard?
Thank you so much for holding this hearing today. I think the most important thing that Congress can do is to provide additional funding for election officials and to require the currently available funding to have a minimum spend for election security.
Secretary LaRose?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We each have an important responsibility, from the county level election officials, state officials, to you all federal level. So I think that the first thing is allow us to do our jobs and don't try to do our jobs for us by setting the specific rules surrounding elections administration, but do support us with the great resources that you offer right now from CISA. Consider growing those resources. One additional thing is that voter list maintenance is probably one of the most important responsibilities we have. Maintaining that very dynamic list that's constantly changing is hard. The federal government has resources that are not always made available to the states, as far as verifying citizenship data, death records, those kind of things. So more data flow as it relates to voter list maintenance would also be very helpful.
I thank the witnesses for their excellent testimony,